Somewhere right now, somebody is cleaning out a garage, flipping open a dusty case, and staring at a firearm they haven't touched in 20 years. They have no idea what they're holding. They don't know that the thing's sitting in moth-eaten felt. The one Grandpa carried or Dad picked up at a pawn shop in 1983 is now worth more than the car parked in the driveway. This happens every single week. People walk into auction houses, gun shows, and estate sales carrying pieces they assume were worth a couple $100, and they walk out with checks that change their entire financial picture. Not because these are gold-plated novelties or one-off museum relics, but because certain production firearms, guns that were once reasonably common, have appreciated so aggressively over the decades that they've effectively become investment-grade assets. Steel, walnut, and history, and a price trajectory that would make a Wall Street analyst jealous. We're breaking down 10 of these firearms, counting from number 10 all the way to the single most valuable everyday production gun that turned unsuspecting owners into collectors sitting on small fortunes. And here's the thing that makes this list hit different. Several of these were once sitting in shops, racks, and catalogs at prices that seem laughable today. If you owned one, sold one, or passed one up, this list is either going to make your day or absolutely ruin it. Number 10, the Colt Python. If there's a revolver that haunts the dreams of sellers who let one go cheap, this is it. The Python came to life in 1955 as Colt's prestige piece, a .357 Magnum revolver that wasn't merely manufactured, it was crafted. Every original Python was hand-fitted and polished until the finish was almost liquid. Shooters started calling it the Rolls-Royce of revolvers, and honestly that comparison undersells it. The forged steel frame, the fully lugged barrel, the adjustable sights, and that double-action trigger pull that felt like dragging silk across glass, nothing else on the market came close. Colt knew they had something special, and they priced it accordingly, but when they officially pulled the plug on production in 2005, the secondary market didn't just heat up, it caught fire. Today, a mint-condition original Python with a 6-inch barrel will consistently bring $4,000 to $6,000 depending on year and finish, but that's the baseline. The rare variants, the elite models, the bright stainless editions, the early 2.5-inch snub-nose configurations, those are pulling 5 figures without hesitation. Collectors in the snake gun community, and yes, that is absolutely a real community, have paid north of $10,000 for pristine examples with provenance. If you sold one of these in the 90s for a few $100 because you wanted something more modern, somebody else benefited enormously from that decision, and they probably thank you every time they check current auction prices. Number 9. The Winchester Model 1886. There are lever-action rifles, and then there's the 1886. This wasn't designed for casual plinking or weekend rabbit hunts. Winchester built this one to handle the most punishing cartridges of the era. 45-70 Government, 51-10 Express, rounds that could drop anything walking the North American continent. The man behind it was John Moses Browning himself, and the locking block system he engineered for this rifle was decades ahead of its time. It absorbed heavy recoil gracefully, while maintaining an action so smooth it felt almost hydraulic. Most of these rifles were used exactly as intended. They were dragged through timber, exposed to weather, banged against saddles and pack mules, and eventually handed down through families who didn't necessarily appreciate what they had. That's what makes a clean, original 1886 so extraordinarily valuable today. Condition is everything in the lever-action collecting world, and originality is sacred. A standard model with honest wear and no butchered modifications can fetch well into 5 figures. Special order rifles, the ones with factory engraving, rare caliber stampings, or custom stock work, those have crossed the $75,000 mark at major auction houses. That number is real. One single lever-action rifle, $75,000. If one of these slipped out of your family during a garage sale or estate liquidation, there's someone out there who owes your bloodline a serious debt of gratitude. Number 8, Parker Brothers Shotguns. This one targets the bird hunting crowd specifically, and it's a story of fortunes lost through sheer ignorance of what was sitting in the gun cabinet. Parker Brothers was among the most elite American shotgun manufacturers during the late 1800s and into the early 1900s. These side-by-side shotguns weren't just functional, they were art. Damascus barrels, intricate hand engraving, walnut stocks shaped and finished with the care of fine furniture. Every detail was intentional. Parker graded their guns on a scale, with grade 1 being the entry point and grade 8, which they called the Invincible, occupying a tier so rare it borders on mythological. Most surviving Parkers are the mid-grade models in 12 and 16 gauge, and even those have become seriously expensive. But the high-grade examples in rare gauges like 28 or 410, those are the unicorns that make auction rooms go completely silent before the bidding erupts. A well-preserved high-grade Parker with factory documentation and matching serial-numbered components can bring anywhere from $10,000 to well over $100,000. The last time a 28-gauge Invincible surfaced at auction, it crossed $250,000. Even the lower-tier Parkers are now commanding prices that would have seemed absurd 20 years ago. In the American shotgun collecting world, the Parker name isn't just respected, it's revered as the absolute pinnacle. Number 7. The Ruger No. 1. No magazine, no repeating action, just a single chamber, a falling block mechanism, and a level of craftsmanship that caught the entire shooting world off guard when it debuted in 1967. The Ruger No. 1 doesn't look like a moneymaker. It looks like something a gentleman farmer would lean against a fence post while watching the sunrise, and that's precisely why so many people underestimated it. What Ruger did with this rifle was deceptively brilliant. They produced it in an enormous variety of configurations, different calibers, barrel profiles, lengths, and limited production runs that came and went without any fanfare or announcement. A chambering would appear in the catalog for a year or two, then vanish. This created an accidental collector's market where certain variants became genuinely scarce without anyone realizing it in real time. Rifles chambered in .257 Roberts, .358 Winchester, or configured in the tropical or varmint profiles are now pulling 3 to 4 times their original retail price. A rifle that cost $400 in the 1980s can now clear $2,000 or more in the right caliber and condition. The No. 1 isn't just a shooter. It's a legacy piece that appreciates while sitting in your safe doing absolutely nothing. Number 6. The Norinco SKS. This one stings for an entire generation. If you were buying firearms in the 1990s, you remember seeing these stacked in racks at every shop in the country, priced under $200 and packed in cosmoline like sardines in a tin. The Norinco SKS was the budget king of semi-automatic rifles. Imported from China by the shipping container, they were affordable, reliable, and utterly unremarkable in the eyes of most buyers at the time. Then the import ban hit in the mid-90s, and the supply of Chinese military firearms entering the United States stopped completely. Overnight, a commodity became a collectible. Today, a clean, all-matching Norinco SKS with the original bayonet factory stock and intact markings easily brings over $700. Certain factory codes, particularly the Triangle 26 variants and models with unusual stampings, have pushed well past $1,000. The cruel irony is that countless examples were modified beyond recognition during the 90s, fitted with aftermarket stocks, scopes, and accessories that stripped away the very originality that now drives their value. Every Bubba SKS sitting in a closet somewhere represents money that evaporated the moment someone took a Dremel to the original furniture. Number 5. The Marlin Model 39A. Selling a .22 caliber rifle because it's just a plinker is one of those decisions that seems perfectly reasonable until you learn what certain .22s are selling for now. The Marlin 39A wasn't just another rimfire. It was a lever-action masterpiece with a lineage stretching back to 1891, built with a solid steel receiver, forged internal components, and a walnut stock that belonged on something costing 3 times the price. The action cycled like warm butter, and the accuracy was competitive with bolt-action rifles at rimfire distances. When Remington acquired Marlin and shifted production, quality deteriorated noticeably. Eventually, the 39A was discontinued entirely, and that's when the secondary market for original pre-safety JM-stamped models went vertical. Clean vintage examples now regularly trade above $1,000. Early production models with original finishes and factory sites command even more. The 39A represents something the modern firearms market struggles to replicate, a rimfire rifle built with centerfire-grade attention to detail, and collectors are paying accordingly for every surviving example they can find. Number 4. The FNFAL. There's a reason this rifle earned the title the right arm of the free world. During the Cold War, the FNFAL armed over 90 nations and became the definitive Western battle rifle of the 20th century. It's a .308 semi-automatic, gas-operated, and built with the kind of over-engineered durability that makes modern polymer fantastics look fragile by comparison. The military heritage is undeniable, but what matters for collectors are the civilian semi-auto imports that entered the United States before the 1989 import ban. During the 70s and 80s, a factory Belgian FAL from the Steyr or Browning import lines could be had for under $1,000. Expensive for the era, sure, but laughably cheap compared to current values. A mint-condition Belgian FAL with all original components and matching serial numbers now commands $4,000 to $8,000 without much negotiation. Israeli heavy barrel variants, Commonwealth L1A1 configurations, and the rare G-Series models that entered the country before reclassification have broken into five-figure territory with ease. Once the import pipeline closed, supply froze permanently and every surviving example became more valuable with each passing year. The FAL market isn't cooling down, it's accelerating. Number 3. The Desert Eagle Mark I. Everyone knows the Desert Eagle as the oversized cinematic hand cannon that dominated action films throughout the 90s. But behind the Hollywood reputation sits a genuinely remarkable piece of engineering, and the earliest Mark I models have quietly transformed into serious collector pieces with substantial financial weight. Developed in the early 1980s by Magnum Research and manufactured by Israel Military Industries, the Mark I used a gas-operated rotating bolt system borrowed from rifle design that allowed it to handle true Magnum pressures in a semi-automatic platform, something no other production pistol was doing at the time. The early versions, chambered in .357 and .44 Magnum, featured cleaner lines and more refined proportions than the later .50 caliber monsters, and that's exactly what the collector market gravitates toward. Original Mark I pistols with factory finish and matching components now trade between $2,000 and $3,500. Factory chrome or gold finishes, low serial numbers, and original packaging push values higher. The .41 Magnum variants, which saw extremely limited production, command premiums whenever they surface. What began as a pop culture curiosity has matured into a legitimate collector category with real and rising value. Number 2. The Walther P-38. Before the Beretta M9 became standard issue, before the SIG P226 entered the conversation, the Walther P-38 established the template for what a modern military sidearm should be. Adopted by the German military in 1938 as the successor to the iconic Luger, the P-38 introduced a double-action, single-action trigger system with a decocking lever, an open-top slide for reliability, and a tilting locking block that influenced pistol design for the next half-century. What drives the collector value today is provenance and factory coding. P-38s were produced across multiple wartime facilities including Walther, Mauser, and Spreework, each stamping their own factory codes that collectors now track and catalog obsessively. Even accessories like period holsters and original magazines can significantly increase the total package value. A standard wartime issue P-38 in respectable condition brings $900 to $1,400, but examples with rare factory codes matching holster rigs, documented bringback paperwork from returning soldiers, or unusual production variations push well beyond that range into territory that would shock anyone who thinks of these as common surplus pistols. And finally, number 1, the Smith & Wesson Registered Magnum. Before it received the Model 27 designation, before .357 Magnum was even a term most people recognized, there was the Registered Magnum introduced in 1935. During the absolute depths of the Great Depression, this revolver represented Smith & Wesson's most ambitious attempt to build the finest handgun money could buy, and they succeeded in ways that still resonate nearly a century later. Every single Registered Magnum was custom ordered. The buyer selected barrel length, grip style, sights finish, trigger type, and hammer configuration. Each completed revolver was hand-fitted and assembled by the company's most skilled craftsmen, then shipped with a numbered certificate of registration, tying it to that specific firearm. These weren't mass-produced goods, they were bespoke instruments of precision, ordered by law enforcement officials, politicians, military officers, and wealthy sportsmen who demanded the absolute best available. Only approximately 5,500 were manufactured before wartime production demands forced Smith & Wesson to shift priorities. That limited production run, combined with the individual customization of each piece, makes every surviving Registered Magnum essentially unique. In today's market, fair condition examples start around $5,000. Complete packages with the original registration certificate, matching serial numbers across all components, and factory accessories regularly reach $15,000 or more. Pristine examples tied to notable historical figures or law enforcement departments have broken the $30,000 barrier in private transactions. The value here transcends mere scarcity. It reflects an era when a single revolver represented the highest expression of American gun-making craft, ordered one at a time, built by hand, and registered by name. The lesson across all 10 of these firearms is remarkably consistent. Value doesn't always announce itself at the time of purchase. Sometimes it builds quietly over decades, driven by discontinued production, import restrictions, shifting collector tastes, and the irreversible passage of time. The gun you dismiss today as outdated or ordinary might be the one your grandchildren argue over in an estate settlement 50